Who am I? A question that has puzzled philosophers, sages, and seekers for centuries. A question that cuts to the very heart of our existence. Ramana Maharshi, one of India's most revered spiritual masters, spent his life exploring this very question. Born in 1879 in Tamil Nadu, India, Ramana Maharshi's life was a testament to the power of self-inquiry. Through his teachings and presence, Ramana Maharshi guided countless seekers toward the ultimate truth of existence. His life and teachings continue to inspire and transform lives, offering a timeless message of love, peace, and liberation. The question, who am I, is more than just a philosophical inquiry. It's a powerful tool for self-discovery and spiritual growth. Ramana Maharshi emphasized the importance of self-inquiry, teaching that the answer to this question holds the key to ultimate liberation. Ramana Maharshi taught that the ego, or the false self, is the root cause of suffering and ignorance. By inquiring into the nature of the self, we can transcend the limitations of the ego and realize our true nature. According to Ramana Maharshi, the self is the only permanent reality. All else is impermanent and ephemeral. Ramana Maharshi's teachings emphasize the importance of direct experience and intuition over scriptural knowledge or intellectual understanding. He encouraged seekers to investigate the self through direct inquiry rather than relying on dogma or belief. As we continue on this journey of self-discovery, let us remember Ramana Maharshi's wise words: the inquiry, who am I, is the key to unlock the door to ultimate freedom. The practice of self-inquiry is a powerful tool for realizing one's true nature. Ramana Maharshi taught that self-inquiry is the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe and finding ultimate peace and liberation. To practice self-inquiry, start by finding a quiet and peaceful place to sit and meditate. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to calm the mind. Next, ask yourself the question, who am I? Allow this question to sink deeply into your mind and investigate the answer. Who is this I that you think you are? What is its nature? Where did it come from? Ramana Maharshi instructed to trace the source of the I thought, to find out where it arises from and what its true nature is. As you investigate the answer, let go of thoughts and distractions. Don't get caught up in mental concepts or ideas, but instead focus on the direct experience of the present moment. Ramana Maharshi taught that the mind is like a lake, and thoughts are like ripples on the surface of the lake. To find peace, one must dive beneath the surface of the lake and experience the stillness and calmness that lies beneath. Continue to ask yourself, who am I, and investigate the answer, letting go of thoughts and distractions as they arise. As you practice self-inquiry, you may experience a sense of inner peace and calmness, and a deeper understanding of your true nature. Ramana Maharshi taught that the practice of self-inquiry leads to the realization of the true self, which is beyond thought and mental concepts. One of the biggest obstacles in self-inquiry is the mind's tendency to wander and get caught up in thoughts and distractions. Ramana Maharshi taught that this is because the mind is accustomed to constantly thinking and being active, and it takes time and practice to quiet it down. To overcome this obstacle, he recommended focusing on the breath or a mantra to calm the mind and bring it back to the present moment. Another common obstacle is the ego's resistance to letting go of its identification with thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Ramana Maharshi taught that the ego is like a shadow that follows us everywhere, and it takes a lot of effort and self-awareness to overcome it. He recommended investigating the source of the ego and recognizing that it is not the true self. Emotional turmoil and inner turmoil can also be obstacles in self-inquiry. Ramana Maharshi taught that these can be overcome by recognizing that they are just passing phenomena and not the true self. He recommended focusing on the inner peace and calmness that lies beneath the surface of the mind. To deepen self-inquiry, it's essential to cultivate persistence and patience. Ramana Maharshi taught that self-inquiry is a continuous process that requires dedication and effort. He encouraged seekers to persist in their inquiry, even when the mind wanders or doubts arise. By doing so, one can develop a deeper understanding of their true nature and ultimately realize the self. One way to deepen self-inquiry is to focus on the source of thoughts. rather than getting caught up in the thoughts themselves. Ramana Maharshi taught that the source of thoughts is the ego, and that by investigating the ego, one can discover the true self. He recommended asking oneself, who am I, and tracing the source of the I thought to its origin. Ultimately, deepening self-inquiry requires a willingness to let go of attachments to thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Ramana Maharshi taught that true freedom lies in recognizing that one is not bound by these attachments, but is instead the eternal and unchanging self. By persisting in self-inquiry and cultivating patience, one can come to realize this truth and experience lasting peace and liberation. The ultimate goal of self-inquiry is to realize one's true nature and attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Ramana Maharshi taught that this realization is not something that can be achieved through effort or practice, but rather it is a natural unfolding of one's true nature. He emphasized that the self is already free, and that realization is simply a matter of recognizing this fact. According to Ramana Maharshi, the self is the ultimate reality that underlies all existence. It is the unchanging, eternal, and infinite essence that pervades everything. He taught that the self is not something that can be known through the mind or senses, but rather it is a direct experience that transcends all duality. Ramana Maharshi's teachings emphasize that the main obstacle to realization is the ego, which creates a sense of separation and identification with the body and mind. He taught that the ego is like a veil that covers the true self, and that self-inquiry is the process of lifting this veil and revealing one's true nature. Realization, according to Ramana Maharshi, is not a state that comes and goes, but rather it is a permanent and unchanging awareness of one's true nature. He taught that once realized, the self is never lost, and that it shines brightly like the sun, illuminating all of existence. Liberation or moksha is the natural consequence of realization. Ramana Maharshi taught that liberation is not something that is achieved, but rather it is a natural unfolding of one's true nature. He emphasized that liberation is not a state of bliss or happiness, but rather it is a state of freedom from all attachment and identification. Liberation or moksha is the natural consequence of realization. Ramana Maharshi taught that liberation is not something that is achieved, but rather it is a natural unfolding of one's true nature. He emphasized that liberation is not a state of bliss or happiness, but rather it is a state of freedom from all attachment and identification. In conclusion, Ramana Maharshi's teachings on self-inquiry offer a powerful and direct path to realizing one's true nature. Through his teachings, we have learned that self-inquiry is not just a practice, but a way of life. It is a continuous process of questioning and investigating our thoughts, emotions, and experiences with the aim of discovering our true self. As Ramana Maharshi so beautifully puts it, you are the self, here and now. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking otherwise. Be still and know that you are the eternal, unchanging reality.